Our second lesson for today is taken from Ephesians chapter 4, verses 11 through 16. The gifts he gave were that some would be apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, some pastors and teachers, to equip the saints for the work of ministry, for building up the body of Christ, until all of us come to the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, to maturity, to the measure of the full stature of Christ. We must no longer be children, tossed to and fro and blown about by every wind of doctrine, by people's trickery, by their craftiness and deceitful scheming. But speaking the truth in love, we must grow up in every way into him who is the head, into Christ, from whom the whole body, joined and knit together by every ligament with which it is equipped, as each part is working properly, promotes the body's growth and building itself up in love. Let us be in prayer together. Dear God, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be acceptable. Amen. It was May 2007. Nola Ox received her diploma from the Fort Hays State University, Hays, Kansas, after having achieved a grade point average of 3.7. After graduation, she was promptly hired by Princess Cruise Lines to serve as a guest lecturer on a 9-day Caribbean cruise. This would have been a dream job for any 20-something-year-old graduate, right? Nola was 95. Now, this wasn't enough for Nola. She went on to earn her master's degree at the age of 98, and then continued to take classes while working as a graduate teaching assistant. Nola wasn't about to stop learning. In a way, Nola illustrates a quote that's attributed to Mahatma Gandhi when he said that we need to live as though we are going to die tomorrow and learn as if we were going to live forever. Now, I think many of us would admire Nola's dedication to lifelong growth and learning. But we might also recall our own high school and college years, along with our current youth and young adults, as we look forward to graduation as the long-anticipated end of the learning process. No more tests, right? What we learned after graduation, however, was that life is still going to require us to grow and learn. At our workplaces, we might need to take training courses to keep up to date with new trends in our field. There always seems to be a new way of doing things, right? And that's not to mention learning to care for our children, or perhaps also aging parents. Life always seems to be throwing something our way to present a challenge that we're going to need to grow and learn to deal with. Who would have thought a year ago we'd be dealing with this COVID-19 situation? And yet, here we are, learning and growing through this experience. We're adapting to worship through being an online community. And we're still having our meetings, so not in person, through Zoom. We've learned new vocabulary like flattening the curve and social distancing. And I dare say we've probably all learned a lot more about viruses than we ever thought we'd need to. The phenomenon of lifelong learning is generally considered by people to be pretty important, I think. Jeff Cobb, in his blog, Mission to Learn, cites 5 benefits of learning throughout one's life. 1, economic. Pointed out you need to continue to adapt changes in your workplace so you can continue to contribute effectively there. 2, intellectual. We learn lots of new knowledge as well as ways in which to use that knowledge. 3, cognitive. As we learn, we keep our brains in good shape. 4, social. Learning produces social connections, which helps us live a longer and happier life. And then 5 is spiritual. Learning can help us with our purpose and focus in life. And I think most of us would agree that lifelong learning is a worthwhile and intriguing endeavor. Look at all the interest in programs such as Rhodes Scholar, where people go off on a tour somewhere, but there's an educational component along with it. Or even our local adult education night school class. Chester County Night School this spring had a whole bunch of courses they offered, including such things as ballroom dancing, cheese making, and sculpture, just to name a few. So with all of this interest in lifelong learning, one might expect that our adult education offerings here at Grove Church would be filled to overflowing, right? After all, our reading from Psalms that Pastor Gary read for us a few minutes ago reminds us how important it's going to be for us to keep growing throughout our entire life. The righteous flourish like the palm tree and grow like a cedar in Lebanon. They are planted in the house of the Lord. They flourish in the courts of our God. In old age, they still produce fruit. They are always green and full of sap. And so, as we are rooted in God, God will provide us the nourishment that we're going to need to continue to grow throughout our entire lives. It doesn't matter what age we are, we're still going to be expected to produce fruit as we remain green and full of sap in a good way. So, here's a question. Why do you suppose it is that at Grove Church, where we have something over 400 members, when we offer an adult educational opportunity, you might see about 6 to 15 people who show up for that? And subsequent classes may see some of the same 6 to 15 people. Now, I recognize that some of us may have schedule conflicts. We are pretty busy. And there may be logistical issues involved. And some of us here this morning are among those who come, for whom we're very grateful. But what's going on with the rest of us? Now, this is not a problem unique to Grove Church, I think. Most churches encounter this phenomenon, but where's it coming from? Now, clearly, we each have our own unique life circumstances, right? And I can only propose a few ideas to try to account for this apparent discrepancy that we observe. First, it may be that some of us are already learning on our own and don't feel the need of participating in a group learning experience. I know that some of us are doing self-study, and that's to be commended. That's really a good thing. But there's also something to be gained by learning in a group with other people, because we might hear ideas from them that we hadn't thought about before, and we can share our ideas to them. It can be mutually beneficial. A second possible explanation is that perhaps we're thinking that Christian education is just for children and youth. Now, I'll be the first to say that it's really important that we do educate our children and youth in the faith, with the very basics, and help support them as they grow to the point where hopefully they would be able to claim that faith as their own. It's vital to us as a church that that happens. But are we saying that once we're confirmed, we've learned everything we need to know about our faith? Can growth in faith and discipleship be that simple? You know, it is only one book, right? And some of us have even read it. But in fact, just as education for life requires that we continue to grow and learn after graduation, so education in our faith requires us to grow and learn after confirmation. It's really a lifelong process. And Grove Church is now starting a new initiative to support us in this. By emphasizing faith formation, you'll be hearing more about this as we coming days, but one thing we're going to be doing is offering classes for children, youth, and adults on Sunday mornings at a time separate from our worship service. So we'll be able to worship together as well as learn together. Those classes will be at different levels because, after all, we're each at different points in our journey of education about our faith. There's a third possible reason I can propose, and this is really just kind of a variation on the last one. Perhaps we're thinking that there's not really much to be gained by spending time studying and going deeper into our faith. And I must confess, this is the trap that I've fallen into in my own life at one point. I grew up in an American Baptist church, and I still have long faded Sunday school pins to show for it. I actually learned a lot in those Sunday school classes about Bible stories and our faith, church. And when I became a teenager, I was able to claim that faith as my own and was duly baptized, dunked actually, and then went on to continue to attend churches and sometimes even adult Sunday school classes. But I have to admit, my attendance at those adult Sunday school classes was frequently, I think, more for fellowship than for wanting really to learn anything new and different. And then, a little over 10 years ago, my interest was suddenly sparked. There's a book by Barbara Brown Taylor that did it. I'd never read churchy books like hers before. She had an honesty and a sense of humor that really spoke. And so I figured maybe I'd read a few more churchy books. And I did, and I found that there's a whole lot of information and ideas out there that I was never told about in Sunday school. And so then I went and read more church books. I think that year I went through about 60-some church books, ranging from the Oxford Illustrated History of the Bible, Jesus Seminar books, to a whole bunch of new authors that were pretty interesting. I have to say that since that point, my life has not really been the same, and I hope you'll agree in a good way. Now, I don't know what's going to spark your interest. You may find an author that you find speaks directly to you, or it may be questions that you have that you don't really know how to answer. What's with this book, anyway? Did you know the Bible is actually a combination of books of different genres? They're not all the same. How did we get this Bible? From the original Hebrew and Greek. Jesus didn't translate it into English and photocopy it for us. There's actually an interesting process that's involved in its development. How did the church come to be, and how did it grow over the years? Can we look back and learn from the mistakes that the church has made and build on the positive aspects of the church history? How do we figure out what gifts and talents we've been given and how to best use those to serve God? How can we share our faith with others without having them feel like they have to immediately flee the room when they see us coming? Can we as Christians translate church speak for others? Can we take spiritual terms such as sin and grace, for example, and explain those not with a memorized definition, but with our own words so that someone else can understand what we're saying? One of the best points, I think, of the ordination process was a requirement we had to answer a whole list of questions. There are a bunch of them. These were questions along the lines of, so what do you think about Jesus? Or, what's your take on evil? Things of that sort. 3 pages each. And that was kind of a difficult assignment, but it turned out to be really worthwhile, because it forced us each to think through what we really believe about these things, and how we might be able to explain it to someone else in words that they would be able to understand. great exercise, and I recommend it for anyone. You don't even have to get ordained, okay? Just take a question and try working through your answers. Now, a word of caution about this whole learning process. There's a lot of information and ideas out there that can really help us in our development of our faith. But the process itself can be a little scary at times. We may very well run across ideas that are very different from what we've been taught in our younger years. I think everyone who goes to seminary runs into this kind of a crisis at some point. And that's okay. We can take those new and strange ideas and use them to challenge us to think about what we really believe, maybe to broaden our horizons. Think about what we believe and why we believe that and what's important. We may have to reframe or rethink what we claim as our belief. It's kind of like going through confirmation again. And we may need to do that again and again throughout our life as that sap is flowing in us and we keep growing in our faith. A simple example. I was brought up being taught that God was our Father. Jesus was obviously a man, so, okay, God's a man too. That sort of makes sense at the time. But as I looked more into this and learned more, I came to begin to think that, God might just be beyond, bigger than our own human idea of gender. And in fact, God has some feminine characteristics as well. Check out Matthew and Luke, where Jesus refers to himself as a mother hen. Now, this was different from what I've been taught. But as I thought about it and worked through it, it actually made sense to me. And it served to deepen and broaden my great appreciation for the greatness of God. So learning can be scary, but we're really called to do this, to learn and to grow throughout our entire life as we seek to become more and more like Jesus. Now, some of you may be saying, okay, that's all very well and good, but she's a minister. And that's what ministers do. That's their job. They're supposed to learn about the faith. They're supposed to understand all these terms and be able to talk about them and get deeper into their faith and so on. But I'm just an ordinary person. I don't do that. Well, I've got a couple of things to say to you about all that. First, none of us are ordinary. We are all unique and special to God. Secondly, while it's true that not all of us are going to be called to be ordained, we are all called to be ministers. And the more we learn and grow in our faith, the better we're going to be able to do that as we seek to continue to follow and grow in Christ. Paul, in his letter to the Ephesians this morning, reminded us how important this was. That seeking the truth and love, we must grow up in every way into Him who is the head, into Christ. During the season of resurrection, I would hope that we each would be able to step out of our comfort zone today. Maybe take a class. Maybe read a book or two. You probably don't have to read 60 of them, okay? Try one or two. Learn some new information. Intentionally listen to some new and unusual ideas and talk about them with others. Let's all use this opportunity as a chance to think about what it is that we really think is important about our faith, how we might be able to explain that to somebody else. May we each now rededicate ourselves to be willing to grow and learn in our faith and discipleship as we continue to follow our risen Christ. Amen.